right, guys. Welcome to this video on Edison Motors. This is going to be a little bit different video than what you're used to. It's not going to be so much about the truck, but we're going to be going into the nitty-gritty behind Edison Motors. We got about half of the employees here that were willing to be on camera. And we just want to share what everyone's working on, what progress we've been making over the last few months, because, well, things are going on with testing and faults and management. There's a lot happening behind the scenes for the business side, for the engineering side, and we just basically wanted to sit down for a quick interview with as many people as were willing to be on camera and share the inner details. So I guess I can start off here with some updates. Obviously, we got these 8 trucks that are being built for next year that I guess technically like 7 of them sold. One of the trucks is ours, although that may be sold now. I think we might have sold our truck, but I can't say on that one who gets it. Some of the deals are still a little bit secret until they arrive because customers don't want to know want their competition to know what we're doing. But some of them are public, so we can talk about those. It's pretty incredible though, where we've come over the last few months from Topsy being built, testing, getting its license plate. Everything behind the scenes, I think you're going to be very, very interested in. Why don't we start off here with Eric? You guys know Eric. He's been my business partner for the last 8-9 years. And yeah, Eric is in charge of, well, basically a lot of things. It's
just a few.
Just a few. You'll find out here that everyone's got a lot of hats. But Eric is in charge of mainly the engineering side of it. A lot of it, the accounting side and the engineering side, talking with the engineering team, supply team, our contractors we use, and organizing a lot of the events. So how have things been going on the product development side?
Yeah, lots on the go. Obviously, we're working on several exciting projects, all with their unique little twinge. It's unbelievable to think that we have so many unique projects that have different applications and therefore need of different technologies. So trying to kind of work on a system that is both universal, so we can do so many different applications with the same unit, but also trying to make it low footprint, easy to manufacture, and just working with our suppliers to make sure that not only the design is good, but that they can build it in a way that's cost effective, easy to make, and then easy to ship. So it's been crazy to think that in less than 3 months, we did design the power distribution unit for our truck conversion kits. So that's been a huge milestone for us, considering that project only started last November. And now going into several Class 8 vehicle projects, not only do we have the power distribution figured out and the battery systems figured out, but we also have the axles figured out. And they're really neat axles. Like, this is completely different than Topsy systems where we have a single motor going into a diff. We're actually going to do a dual motor system so we can leverage torque vectoring. And this is something that our competitors, I'm sure, are doing. If not, I mean, geez, they're crazy, because this technology blows my freaking mind. To be able to use 2 motors to send power directly to the particular wheels, I mean, possibilities are endless there in terms of power distribution and efficiency. There's a whole host of things we have to do to keep designing this truck. But the good news is everything we learn on Topsy, we're applying onto our new trucks, working hard on making sure that our cooling system is there, and all of our new trucks have a chiller. So this is something that our team has been working insanely hard on, is making sure that we have the proper cooling and heating for the batteries, and a package where instead of being everything on a headache rack, it's actually inside the cab. So that's really exciting stuff that we'll be able to show you. And I'm sure Keaton will blow everybody's minds with some of his renderings. And then, the pickup truck's going so well. Just super pleased that in less than a few months, we were able to go from nothing to having axles that we've now ordered and secured. Next stage for me, I'm going to be working on designing a generator system that could be hooked on to a Cummins 2.8, a Cat 3.6, and possibly even a 6-liter. We'll see. But the idea is we're working on a system that can produce electricity from a relatively smaller engine, and it's pretty exciting stuff to work on. So I'm always pleased with our progress, and it's going in the right direction. Other stuff too that I've been working on is making sure that administratively we're only getting stronger as we build a bigger team. We're going to be onboarding quite a few co-op students this summer, so making sure that we have financing in place to grow the company. Obviously, you may have heard we're moving to Terrace if all goes well. So I went through a huge zoning application with Chase, and Chase, like, so happy that the city opened their arms to you and you made great contacts, because I've been working with them to make sure that we get our zoning through. Fingers crossed our public hearing goes well on May.
That is a little nuts. That is a little bit nuts. Where the city's like, man, we're so excited to have you here. I can't believe you're coming to Terrace. Anyways, here is this giant mountain of paperwork and multiple meetings you have to go through. Like, do you want us there or not? Jesus.
Hey, come on. I mean, it's processed, right? I'm happy that you put me in touch with the right team. Michael and Ken and Dave, they've been phenomenal to work with. And good news is this past week we did have city council have a quorum that they want to go ahead and give us the zoning. So now we just got to go ahead and remove that subject so we can purchase the property before July. And then Chase and I, we both know we've been working hard with our local auditor in Merritt to make sure that we not only have 2021, but 2022 and 2023 financial statements completed, so that we, may proceed into getting private funding, crowdfunding, and even possibly listing publicly. So all going in the right direction. It's been a huge thing for me to take on, but I'm enjoying it.
You guys will learn on this side. Eric is the calming influence, because Eric's like, oh, it's all good. We're good making the hoops. And I'm like, why is the government getting in the way of free market enterprise? If people want to invest in us, let them invest in us. Why are we spending $100,000 for certified financial documents and lawyers on all this? We're asking people for crowdfunding. The government has stopped us from crowdfunding. So the government won't let us raise money until we do the financial documents. Because they're like, well, the financial documents make sure it's all good. And you're like, well, you've already looked at them. We passed. And they're like, yes, but you haven't passed from a third party yet. And you're like, okay, but you guys looked.
Anyway, yes. It's one of those things where they keep throwing us curveballs, but Chase and I are badass and we get through the hoops. So I'm just happy that we're able to get it done. It always takes a bit more time, but every single time we do these things, we learn, and it'll only get easier on the next round. And it'll be good to always have audited financials going forward. And it'll be good to be on great terms with the Securities Commission as we potentially go public. So these are just kind of hoops, right? I'm just happy that we're getting through them slowly but surely.
But
on the technology front,
we need to do.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I said, more importantly, these are the hoops we need to do, because we are not doing venture capital. We've talked to the venture capital guys, and absolutely we are not going down that route. As Elon Musk himself said, they will drive a business into the ground. They're not interested in making a good product. And after talking with several of them, I can confirm venture capital is not. So it just means that these are the hoops we have to go through to do the crowdfunding, because it's a non-traditional way of businesses raising money. But I think it's way more important to be owned by the people that want you to make a good product. Having truckers, trucking companies, and our fans able to invest in us will make sure that our investors will keep us in line to make sure we keep our core values of open, transparent, good, reliable product. And that's important enough to go through all these hoops. And for what you have Eric to thank for having the patience to go through all these hoops, because it makes me want to beat my head off a wall of government bureaucracy. We are so grateful that we have Eric to deal with this government bureaucracy.
Hey, it's all worthwhile, and I enjoy it, because let's face it, as we keep growing and scale a business from just two of us to hundreds of people, there's more process involved. So I just want to make sure that we make it as fun as possible, but also as reasonable as possible. And I'm a simple man myself. I just want to make sure that it's done right. And thankfully, I've had a lot of help throughout the way. So I got to thank our great team and our great partners that have gotten this far. And it's cool because while I'm dealing with all this bullshit, I'm still designing great technology that I'm super proud of. And I mean, you'll see throughout this interview series, we got an awesome team at Edison Motors that we literally picked up from fans turned employees. And we're building killer products here. And I can't wait until we get a bit more money in the bank account and have an even larger team of mechanics, engineers, and managers so that we can execute our dream projects up in Terrace.
Yeah, start building these trucks that we've sold. We've sold the trucks. We've got the money to build the trucks, but it's going to take us a long time and a tarp. And it's working well, though, because as you guys are about to find out in the next series of the videos, I can't wait to show you guys the rest of the team, show you what they've been working on. And you can see why we are confident going forward that we're going to be able to pull this off. God damn, we're going to make it.
We sure are. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun and can't wait for it. This is only the beginning.
Only the beginning. All right, Eric. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for sharing that little background, the government oversight, organizing the team, keeping everybody in line. And yeah.
Yeah, awesome. You bet. Have fun today.
You bet. Let's go meet everybody else.
Break it out.
All right. You guys may know from some of the videos, you've seen Matt Clauson before. Matt has been helping us out. He's a heavy-duty mechanic. He's got Clauson equipment up in Quesnel. He's been helping us with a lot of the parts, a lot of the sales, a lot of helping with the design, and just become a real integral part of the team here.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. After going over the truck ourselves in our shop, I couldn't resist but to keep moving up with you guys. So kind of where I've started and you know, where I've been able to step in. I mean, there's already so many people that are doing so many great things. I started working on our operation and safety manual and designed a safety program for when we go to build the trucks. So what we're going to be looking at here first is we're going to go into our safety program. So if we get into here, you can see what we did first is kind of went through and created a, you know, we needed to kind of recognize what was going to go on. Now that we have so many people that are going to be touching hands on this project, we have a responsibility to provide a safety program for the people that are helping with the trucks. So what we've done is gone through, you know, job hazard analysis, production of an electric truck, gone through, you know, companies, what we're doing, you know, some of the equipment we're using, the PPE required. You know, this will kind of work for a variety of things, working in the shop, transporting stuff back and forth, you know, everything along those lines. So this is kind of the bones of the job hazard analysis. We kind of broke down each step on building the truck, kind of what we've seen coming forward. And then what we do is we list any potential risks or hazards. And then right beside it, we put what controls we're going to use to try to, you know, keep those risks to a minimum. So then we go through each step. Each step kind of has their own separate risks. And then you see here, we leave room so that this document can grow as we move on. This is kind of a live document on the floor.
Hey, Matt, did you open the document? Because I'm wondering if your screen maybe just froze.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm looking at it right now.
Maybe close her down and just reopen it. I'm looking at the main page where it says Chase Larson, First Aid, Cade Richmond.
So even
hey, in there, that works. All right, why don't we start again here, right from the, so this is the safety program.
This is kind of the first step into the safety. You can see here, we created a safety plan PDF and then in the Google Drive. This right here, I started attaching pictures of each of the guys that have first aid tickets. Right, just so everybody has that available. And then this gets into the bones of kind of our job hazard analysis, right? Like I was mentioning, now that we're going to be moving forward, we have a responsibility to the people helping us to provide them with a safe workplace and a resource to look at, to follow up on safe work procedures and make sure that, you know, everybody there is you know, taking the proper steps to, you know, not get hurt and go home every night. So
absolutely,
this is kind of the start of the JHA. We do a job hazard analysis, production of electric truck, Edison Motors. You know, we get into the equipment used, the personal protective equipment used. We get into a spiel here, about safety and what it is, but this is the real bones in the hazard analysis. So we start with what the activity is, assemble frame, rear suspension, rear axles, and these are the risks that are posed while working on these jobs and building the truck. So we take these.
This is incredibly important too, because it shows people like, all right, it was a mental way of assigning what every job is going to be in production. What do you need to do to build the truck? What steps do you need to go through? And what issues can arise on these steps? So this is a critical part of production and the safety that goes behind that production.
100%. And this, because you always have new risks coming, that's why we left a lot of blank spaces here and here, so that as we're working on the job, we can always add to it as we recognize risks on the project. We take those risks, and then we take, and put here what all our control measures are and additional control measures that can be added after, so that everybody going forward has a reference and a safety program. Even people coming to our facility, if they're working on this truck, they're going to have to review this JHA, understand those risks, and make sure that going forward that everybody that's working with us is working in a safe manner. We even get down to the point where every safe work procedure, the biggest thing in incident reporting, mechanical. In the mechanical part, we get into lockouts and, lots of hazards there that need to be recognized while we're working on the shop floor.
Absolutely. We got to make sure people stay safe when they're working on this, and not just for us, but the people that are going to be working on our trucks once we sell them.
100%. And this will be a growing document as we get to, work more. Like now that this is a live document, we're going to have it there so that while people are working on the job, we're going to be able to add to safe work procedures, add to the safety plan, so that our installers going forward, even if they're not sure, we do have a reference there on how to work on this project safely.
Basically, as Dan the mechanic screws up, we'll just keep adding more things onto the list.
I
hate the next video after you.
You'd be surprised how many rules are made from mistakes.
Pretty well most rules. What do they say? Safety rules are written in blood?
That actually does make a lot of sense, to tell you the truth. So from there, we get into, this is going to end up coinciding with, our operation and maintenance manual. So I'm going to click over to that for a minute so we can start diving into what we're looking for with our operation and maintenance manual. And what we've done here is kind of broke the maintenance down. I've got a section here for daily checks. What we did is, the maintenance on this truck is different from all other trucks. We've got an engine that isn't running with the powertrain all the time. So what we've kind of decided to do is, because we've got multiple sections down here at the bottom, we've got our engine, cabin chassis, powertrain, low voltage, powertrain, high voltage. So I thought it'd be really confusing to put a daily check in each of those components. So what we decided to do was break it down. So here's your engine daily checks, cabin chassis daily checks, and powertrain daily checks. So with the powertrain, we're still doing quite a bit of research on that end. Reached out last week and ended up getting a whole pile of documentation from you guys. I mean, the Edison team has so much information on this section. I haven't had a chance to go through it all and start kind of really adding into the powertrain section. Mind you, it's not going to take long to fill it up once I kind of figured out what everything in there is.
Especially as we get into more testing and we start driving more, we're going to realize what we need to look at daily, what we need to look at weekly. That'll be a living document as we test and break things. And
100%. That I don't know how long it's going to take it to grow, but we have, it's going to be going for quite a while yet. So then we break into the next part is the engine, right? Best way to work on the engine is we kind of tried to break down the schedule so it was easy to follow. So kind of as required, couple different sections there. We get into the initial oil change, right? When you run the first 100 hours on your engine that's running the generator, we need to do oil samples, oil filter change, coolant samples, And then from there, we break it down to 500-hour service intervals for the engine itself on the generator. Then we get into the cabin chassis. So started developing the cabin chassis checklist. Best way to break it down was by systems. I really thought it was important that, you know, we do our initial maintenance. So that's the first maintenance at 1,600 kilometers. This is a key part of what's going on with the truck. The biggest reason is we are dealing with so much torque at the axles now that if we don't take these initial steps and follow the proper retorque procedures off of the first maintenance, everything could possibly come loose. The retorques are going to be especially important throughout this program. So,
I said absolutely. Yeah, it's super important with the amount of torque we're putting out when the fur truck's brand new. You find out in really the first 1,600 kilometers what wasn't tightened or what's going to come loose, and it's that critical, may appear tight in the shop, but what people got to understand is that, yeah, you brought it all up to torque, you double checked all your torque, you made your little mark, but then as the truck starts moving and jiggling, everything's going to come a little bit looser. That first 1,600 is to bring it all tight again after the frame twist, flex, everything else that's going to occur.
Oh, 100%. It really is important. So that's where we broke this down. We've got a lot of checks. I haven't kind of finished sorting through. So we did first 1,600. And then from there, we designed a 1,600 kilometer maintenance. The reason we stuck with 1,600 kilometers, because when we transfer down into the Imperial system, 1,000 miles is equal to 1,600 kilometers. So it's a very easy conversion, easy number to work with. So we worked there. I thought it was really important that we stick with alphabetical order. That way, when we go through in the actual maintenance manual, we will have full descriptions. When we say air system, air dryer inspect, there is going to be a page in the manual that's going to show you exactly what to inspect with the air dryer, what we expect with hoses and fittings, leaks, and then I liked that everything was alphabetical. So when we actually go to use the manual, it'll be easy to find each section. And not only that, this will easily convert into a checklist when we just add a column here. And any mechanic going forward is going to have an easy checklist where you're going to be able to go section by section and complete a proper for preventative maintenance checklist. Kind of broke it down. It got a little bit bigger than I thought, but I don't think I'm done yet either. But I'm very happy with the way that it laid out, steer axles and steering, the suspension system, tires. And then we get into 1,000-kilometer maintenance program and 16,000 kilometer. So this kind of works out to, once a week. The 8,000 kilometers probably going to be closer to, every, 5 to 6 weeks. And then the 16,000 kilometer service is going to be probably along that 3-month mark, where we're going to have key intervals that are going to be checked, at those service interval marks.
And it's definitely important to have way more things to check than way too little, especially when these trucks are new. Like, we'll be integrating this with Topsy, and as Topsy's moving through its testing, moving through its failure, breaking things, fixing things, a lot of that'll be okay, let's go back, put that on the list. These will be the things that every time we basically head out, we keep checking on the truck too.
I do believe too, it's also going to help us with our warranty standards. The quality of the truck that we're going to have is going to be based on maintenance programs. So if we're going to have proper warranty with our components, we got to have proper maintenance. So we need to set that standard on what we want to see.
Yeah, and then the other part too is we're working with some of our customers, showing them these kind of inspections, and they're really partners on the first few trucks. So we want to get this information back. We want them to specifically be checking all of the things on the list. And if there's things that are breaking, if there's things that, hey, they're noticing rubbing, we want that information back on these next trucks so that we can improve the next trucks to, okay, hey, we notice at 1,600, these hoses are rubbing through. Okay, well, we're going to have to change that in our design to make it more reliable going forward, to not only make sure that for the warranty that they're doing the inspections, but also to lower the amount of warranty claims and make a more reliable truck.
That makes total sense. And that leads me to the next section, because one of the biggest questions we have, like, these checks aren't what the big question is for people. It's when we get into the powertrain. So this being a whole new area for us, what we've done is I broke down each component in each part of each system. And what we're going to do is kind of, we've got cab screens, the CAN bus, the ICE night switches. So now we're researching from scratch on what we need to do for preventative maintenance checks on all of these systems. So we're able to, and then same with the powertrain high voltage system. You can see there is a bunch there. So this is where we lay everything out, each component that's part of the high voltage system, and we are studying each component individually to make sure that maintenance checks are exactly what's needed, and there shouldn't be any surprises. Don't get me wrong, there's going to be surprises, but we are going to do our best to try to prevent them.
And this is the big living document. We know on the truck stuff, like pitman arm is a pitman arm, that's going to have suspension. They're going to have Hendrickson has their recommended things. These are really the things that we need to put a lot of time into figuring out. And these are things that can only be figured out by looking at driving the truck, braking the truck, figured out what broke on the truck, and then going back to make service intervals, preventative maintenance intervals, to make sure that those events don't occur when the customer has it.
Exactly. So we have, we're starting off. The Edison team has done such an immense amount of research already. We are going to have a good chunk of this, but like you say, we are going to have a learning curve when it goes down the road, and it'll always be consistently added to. And for our customers too, even in the back, we'll have a section for all the refill capacities and filters required. So when we say you're doing a 500-hour service, we're going to have what you need to order in the back, and how much you need to order as well. One neat thing that's going to be part of this program. So I'll give you an example of what we kind of picture for how the end document is going to look. So because the engine has a vast amount of information, I kind of dove in on this one first, because it's right in our wheelhouse. There's a lot of information there. So I just wanted to give an example of what our end document will look like. What we'll start with is have all of our checks along here. We'll have a manual that's going to show you. So when we say air compressor check, we've got everything in here on how to check that air compressor, right? Relief valves, inspections, coolant supplies, governors, filter replacements. If we get, battery, and even to the point where we want to specify what part of electricity that you're dealing with, right? We're doing a 12-volt battery check here, not a high voltage battery check.
Much different procedures on those.
Yeah.
Much different procedures.
So you can see why I kind of wanted to dive into this one and kind of get, the formatting on it is, tough to wrap your head around. So I use this to set up the formatting so that, when we do battery checks, make sure they're disconnected. We got all the warning labels. We want to make sure people are taking the proper steps. And the biggest thing is that the information is going to be there. As a mechanic, I can't tell you how many times you just got to figure out. So I thought it was a great idea working with Edison on putting a manual out there that is friendly. If you think about it, like we need to be able to have a book there so that somebody can just open and go to any section, high voltage, low voltage, engine, and everything along the lines. Like we even went to the point to find, here's your belts and pulleys. Well, this is what you want to look for on your belts. These are the problems, Here's some pictures to show it. Same with coolant. We want to, and we're going to, when this document is complete, we're going to have the exact same amount of detail put into the high voltage system as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's critical too. You mentioned it perfectly. It's got to be a document that the average mechanic can pick up and read. The average truck driver could pick up and read if there's issues. like this, when it comes to working with Keaton on the high voltage design and Eric and the Flowdraulic team, it's going to have to be translated into a system like this that anybody can pick up, read, and understand how it's working, how it's flowing together. And it needs to be a very public document, which I think is back to the fundamental core of Edison Motors, that right to repair, the planned obsolescence. I get tired of EV companies where they hide everything. They don't want to tell you how the system works. They don't want to put it out in layman's terms. But I think that this is critical if there's going to be widespread adoption of electric and hybrid diesel electric vehicles.
I believe that the success of the truck is going to be based on it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if it goes back to the old school ways. If the mechanic knows how to fix it, that's less downtime for the owner, which is more success for everybody.
I believe in the old saying is that your sales team sells the first truck, your service sells the second truck.
I believe that. Yeah. So that's kind of the rough and dirty.
Awesome.
I like I said, we're gonna take what this is, and then it's gonna get converted into, all these are gonna have their own section in the manual. Everything will be alphabetically categorized. It'll be easy to go through. It'll be, we're trying to go with a very simple form, simple layout, very informative manual.
Do we want to talk a little bit about, you've been doing a bit of sales in that? Do you want to give a little update on what's going on there?
The sales has actually been what I would consider, it has been a lot of fun. To be able to take an idea and put it onto a screen is such an incredible thing. So we've been working on our presentations. Some of our proposals we put out, we've talked about it, and we thought, what a great idea to show customers what their trucks could look like if they decide to sign on with us. They get to see what their exact builds are, what they want to do with their colors, with their logos. And quite honestly, Daniel has knocked it out of the park every time.
He always does. And you'll work together on this West Fraser project to present to them, and able to add certain things that loggers like we were able to get the First Nations band logo in there for the partnership, able to basically just the entire way. It's so cool now that you can render out exactly what their trucks look like. And a lot of people that aren't familiar with it, Kenworth and Peterbilt don't give you that. When you go to buy a truck from them, you just get a little 4 to 6 page booklet of all your parts. It's really cool to be able to alter those parts, color schemes in real time and show them what it looks like, including with right down to the headache rack with our partners at Peerless and that.
I think people are underestimating what kind of value you get to partnering with Edison in these first 5 trucks. You will never get a custom built truck delivered to your door like this, right?
No.
I mean, you can get a truck delivered, but you're going to spend a fortune after customizing it to this level.
Yeah, and you're not going to get that kind of support from any other dealer.
So this has really turned into something that I never really expected. I really didn't know all this was possible until I started working with you guys.
Well, that's exactly why we want to show this kind of stuff off, because I think there's a whole reason to do this video. A lot of people don't realize what's going on behind the scenes, what we can do for our customers, where we're at with safety manuals, maintenance manuals, build sheet, build the materials. And it's kind of cool to I really want to show off, because everybody on this team's been doing an absolutely incredible job. We've got a great team, and people just don't see that. So this is kind of cool.
I don't know if anybody realizes the mass amount of work that is done from week to week. Every week, you're just like, holy man, we set the mile marker and we're 2 miles past it.
Yeah. It's what happens when you got a really good team and you let them do the things that they're best at.
Yeah.
We've heard it from a few of the engineers and guys that work here that they just don't get that in the bigger companies. They get drowned down under bureaucracy. But when you have good guys that you trust and you let them do the work, and it's amazing what you can achieve from week to week.
I've actually the support. I mean, I'm probably one of the newest guys coming into this, and I was, like, hey, Keaton, I'm working on a high voltage. What, you got anything for me? And like within 1 minute, my inbox is like ding, 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 ding. I was all right. Like, this is going to be awesome. Hey, Ray, what do you got going on? And hey, Matt, here, ding, gives me all the access. Like, it's the support from this team I haven't seen anywhere else.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great to hear. I actually love hearing that.
Yeah, everybody. You could call anybody any time of day in this team, and there's just nothing but help from every corner.
Yeah, it's like I said, we put together a pretty special team. It's one of those moments where I feel like it's running on its own. We built a well built machine in the company, and different people can just work on their own tasks now, and that's an incredible achievement to make.
That's how the momentum grows.
It's the I can handle it, and that's the one thing, that attitude that I wanted everybody to have, is that I can handle that. They don't need to come for me now with a double check to ask questions or what about this, what about this. Everyone says I can handle it. I know what my tasks are. I know what needs to be done, and I know what I can do, and I've got it, and I'll just come up if there is an issue. And I rarely even hear issues. We have our Monday morning meeting and everything flows smoothly. It's quite a transformation over the last, since September.
And you know what I hear more than that is, oh, that actually sounds like fun. Oh, that sounds like fun. Like it doesn't even seem like it's work to them anymore.
No, I don't think anyone does feel like it's work, because everybody's working on what they're passionate on. Daniel for his truck designing, Keaton for his electrical side, Levi for the maintenance, Ray for the material sourcing, production designing. Like, everyone's kind of just working on what they're passionate about, and that's an incredible thing to have.
Yeah, it's like I said, I couldn't be happy enough to be part of a team like this.
Yeah. Well, thanks, and thanks for presenting today.
Yeah. No, it's nice to see the work's going to something like that.
All right, I am here with Daniel Batac, who is essentially our head designer for truck design, body, layout, and we just kind of want to run through some of the really cool progress we have made basically since the building of Topsy till now.
Yeah, sure. So initially from Topsy, there was quite a few ideas that were being thrown around. And especially when it came to removing the headache rack from the equation, right? Because on Topsy, we do have that iconic Metal Gear headache rack in the back where we'd store all our electronics. But if we were to keep with that day cab application, that would be kind of difficult. So we explored the initial idea of going with a sleeper version of it.
Yeah, people have all been asking us, when are you doing a sleeper? And yes, we are doing a sleeper where we can put all the power electronics just under the bed.
Yeah, eventually that'll come, but for now, right, it's mostly just day cab stuff. So originally we were going to put all of our electronics underneath here, but I believe we ran into some
customers wanted day cabs.
Customers wanted day cabs.
We've got this option. All the trucks we've sold, though, they all want day cab, so we put it in the back of the headache rack, back of the cab, which just went through that with Levi. So this is kind of cool. Now we can show the sleeper version with you.
Yeah, exactly, right? Oh, boy. Yeah. Let's ignore that. Pretty much, yeah. And let's go through some of the older revisions.
Oh, yeah, the old flat roof.
The old flat roof, yes, completely flat. It's got a little bit more of a forehead than the previous one, so we explored that option as well. Actually, there's like 3 versions of it here, even shorter, and the original one, I believe, at the bottom.
Oh, yeah, the different lengths of the sleeper.
Yeah, different lengths, yes.
And the windows. We also brought the front windshield forward. So rather than being as tucked back, to get the customer wanted a shorter wheelbase, so we found that with a lot. So we brought those windows ahead more, kind of more a little bit flatter of an angle. Not as great for aerodynamics, but as we went with Keaton, that didn't make a huge impact. So we brought it forward so that we could bring the whole cab just a little bit, make it a little bit shorter, and you still get the same great visibility. But that was a fundamental design change. Lower the top of the roof, and also Daniel designed us a slope nose as per what our customers wanted.
Yeah, just for that greater visibility and aerodynamics, I suppose. Of course, I'm more of a fan of the typical straight nose, but that's
Me
just
too.
me.
Me too. I like the high hood. Do you want to show this? Oh, here we go.
Oh, here we go. Yeah. Actually, I don't think this is much different.
No, I think that's still the flat roof.
Yeah, I think that's still a flat roof, eh?
The Logan one's pretty good.
Yeah, sure. The West Fraser one.
Yeah, the West Fraser project.
Yeah, let's go with that one. Yeah, let's go with that one then. Wunderbar.
Yes, there. That is the slope down windshield. You can see that it's got a little slope to the front. The high hood has a little bit of a slope in it, but definitely not as aggressive as a slope.
Yep.
We can see that Levi's placement of suspension parts have all been placed into the body model for a little bit more of a.
Yep.
We placed in the cat. Those are the batteries with the suspension mounts.
Yep.
Air tanks in place. Cab airbag. So this is some really, really impressive stuff that is being worked on here. So that is the cab airbags. You can see our exhaust routing. We had to get access to batteries and stuff underneath there. So the same as Topsy, that front can remove. So we had to move out the exhaust pipes to the side of the cab so that we can run all of our electronics down into the batteries along the frame rails.
And we were also using this as kind of a test bed for four-corner air suspension, but that's still in development. So
Still in development, but I like it. It's in Europe, they go with 4 airbags on all 4 corners of the cab to give you a big ride. Like, so we were thinking, like, why not do the same thing? Like, why does the front have to hit so hard and the back is cushioned while the front gets pounded out? Like, let's make the entire cab isolated and on air ride like a European cab over for that real smooth ride. These are off-highway trucks. Let's make it comfortable for the driver.
yeah, exactly. So much better that way. Less driver fatigue and all that. Let's see. We can move on to showing the battery suspension. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yes. Yep. This is basically what we put in Topsy. So those this one is for a model where the customer needs a lot more battery usage. We can get away with just putting the ones in the frame rail, but this is double the battery power for designed for a customer that wants to run a lot more on electronics. Normally, I think for most trucks, just the 4 in the middle of the frame rails, but this is the option where you can put them under the side steps.
Yep.
So this one needed 8 batteries instead of 4. Just because they need to be able to operate on site for at least 2-3 hours on full electric power, which required a lot of power to run their blowers or whatever parts they have.
Yeah.
Talk about that project.
Oops. Ignore that.
But this shows you where it really comes along in an impressive way. It shows you how we're putting in the chain hangers, air tanks, how everything is mounting to the frame rail. So this is just a really, really well fleshed out version.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And in the coolest application you can imagine, in my opinion, logging trucks.
I think so.
Absolutely. I would agree.
That high hood looks so much better.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? So great. In the pictures, it definitely looks a lot better when it's fully processed and rendered out. But even here, it looks super nice.
It's still amazing. Like just being able to do it from what we did last year with Topsy, where we were largely just getting the parts in and placing the parts, to being able to see, hey, where is the exhaust going to run? Where does Keaton need to run his electrical lines? We can place them into this model. We can see, are there interference? Like as we found out with the exhaust, where we were running the exhaust was going to interfere with the electrical. So we changed that on the fly, and it's really cool. And then we can send the stuff off to Levi, who can then stress test it, put it through his modeling. is all that background stuff that happens in the company that people don't get to see online. So it's very cool to show off here.
And I'm just here. I'm just happy to be here for the ride.
Oh, you are doing a ton of this. This would not be possible without you.
Well, I'm glad to be here. Can't express that enough.
I cannot stress enough how glad we are to have you for all this. And it's definitely taken our game up to the very next level between you, Keaton, Levi, on the computer work and integrating all of this into the computer. It's been a game changer for how much more efficient we've got compared to Topsy.
From where it came from initially, from that sleeper idea, to now we have a day cab, which is what people wanted as well. But we also have our electronics stored in the back here. So this is essentially our electronics cabinet, and all of our electronics is going to be all back here. So this is essentially the stand-in for that headache rack on Topsy.
Yeah, and I think it's actually going to move a little bit farther back to give the driver more room to recline. They're a little bit bigger than we need now, but that's going to give Keaton enough room to place everything, and then we'll shrink it down to length after.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You want to show a little bit of the front, what you've done with the interior? Still very much the Topsy layout, but
yeah, the dash is pretty much ripped from Topsy, because I mean, if the formula works, then
it's a nice
really yeah, exactly, and there's really no point in changing it. And if it works, it works. Why bother?
Yeah. I really like the new positioning of the mirrors. That's a much better spot for visibility, in my opinion.
Yeah,
like the old Pacifics, the old Haze.
Yeah, there you go. This is a little zoomed in from a human eye, but this is probably a little more realistic. So
the visibility out of that is absolutely fantastic still.
Yeah, look at that. Got your corners down here, so you don't need some goofy hood mirrors that hang out on the front there.
No. Fender mirrors are better than hood mirrors, 100%. I love that. And then what it doesn't show you really is that you can lean left and right a little bit. And once you lean left, right, or kind of move your body over left and right, the view is wicked. Like you can see right down the side exactly where you're placing the bumper. Yeah, just like that. That's what you can do in real life with just a tiny little lean over. You can see immediately what you're doing. Like
the sight lines are fantastic, despite how big it is, but it's impressive nonetheless.
Well, awesome work. I guess we can show. Can you show like the underview looking up of the driveline system, and that might be a cool chance to show that off.
A lot of it is undercover though, but let's see. I mean, the skid plates are kind of there, but I mean, hide those away.
Skid plates, batteries, generator. I think one of the next things we'll be placing the stuff that from Keaton over the next couple of weeks is placing all of the inverters, all the stuff in the back of the cab, shrinking the cab down. Then once all those are placed, then it'll be a matter of running wires. But it's exciting. We've gotten enough done where the frame rail, all the stuff that attaches to the frame rail has been placed into Keaton's model, which means we've now been comfortable to order the frame rail. So the frame rail is coming. It should be here in June, end of June, I think. And then as it gets here in the end of June, we'll start placing all of the parts. And hopefully by then, by the time we build out the frame rail and suspension, you guys will have where all the power lines are going. And this is high speed development because we are literally placing things as things come in. So we're chasing the design team here.
Yeah.
Almost room for a third battery bank in there. Actually, looking at that, we could probably fit a third battery.
Maybe. We would just need to relocate the air tanks.
I mean, the air tanks can go off to the side.
Yeah, they can. And
then you could place in a battery, which would give you 6 out of 8, which for applications could then drop something off of one off the saddle tank. But it's cool. This is awesome. This is why I love this real-time kind of design.
It gives you the ability to play around with it, basically. It's one thing to explain your idea in words, but it's an entire another thing to have all your parts and components in a 3D space, and then to be able to mishmash them, place them wherever you feel like,
and then bring the mechanics in. Like you've been working very closely with Matt. Ray's been working very closely in this.
Yeah,
myself, So we've been able to bring in a lot of mechanics that can look at this design and say, yeah, that's going to fail. No, that's not going to fail. That looks good. This looks like it's getting that real world mix of just mechanics at the 3D model. And then as we build it, we've already had their input, but then they're going to be building it. Then they can go back to the design team and say, hey, change this in your design. Awesome. Anything else you want to show off that you've been working on, or?
Not for the moment. I mean,
This is a lot of work. I mean, I cannot stress enough to the people who might be watching how much work this is to design and build all these components. So definitely shouldn't say, oh, anything else, because, like, Jesus.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I think the work speaks for itself. So it's more or less just everyone always sees the complete product. No one ever really sees what the amount of time and effort that goes into the actual development. That's why projects with R&D, research and development, are so expensive. And they have like 7 or 8 figure budgets because, you know, those companies can afford it. But obviously we're operating at a little bit of a lower one, but we're managing. You know?
I think we're managing really well with the budget we've got, where that little mix of common sense comes in, where you get the mechanics that know what the parts are we need, know what's been done in the field, combined with yourselves, Keaton, the electrical guys, the engineering guys, and I think it's coming along really well with that attitude that it doesn't have to be perfect on everything. The critical components we'll assess out and we'll build as we go. And if the mechanics don't like something, we'll change it in real time. Well, great job again, as always. So,
yeah, no, thank you. This has been a fantastic project.
really,
or projects, I should say. Technically, it's encompassing quite a few.
yeah, I guess all the different customers with all their different features and what they want for their chassis and their body. And
yeah, I really only just realized that just now.
yeah, right. There's like 5-6 projects on the go.
Exactly. So we got obviously the
Gotta
stuff
worry
we're working
about
on now, but
underbodies and wings and how they're putting on their hydraulic tanks, and they need their equipment here, or motors and electric motors to run different attachments. It's been pretty cool.
yeah, you know, especially for me personally, because I've always been a truck guy. Like most people, I never really understood what actually went into developing, or even what to even think about when you're building a truck from essentially nothing. This has been obviously a learning experience for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, wow, that actually is nuts when you put it that way. We developed this from nothing. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like we imported a Kenworth W900 chassis. Like, we put in the frame rails, spec the frame rails, built the cross members, put in like everything on here has either been built, or like for Hendrickson, they sent us their suspension files and we had to put those in, and
Yeah.
or Northside for their fuel tanks and J brackets and had to put those in. Like, all of our all of our suppliers have to send us 3D models, and then we have to figure out where those parts go and how that. Yeah, that's a lot actually when you think about it. Holy shit, how did we pull this off? I think we just pulled it off straight up because people didn't tell us we couldn't.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know?
Awesome. Well, I'll head off to the next one. I think I'm with Ray, but thanks again for sharing what we've been working on, and I hope it gives people watching a little bit more of a view of what's happening behind the scenes. Okay, so now I am here with Ray Matkin, who has been with Edison Motors, as you guys might know, if you've been a long-time follower, since the very start. Ray is a tradesman, and right now he has been helping us with part sourcing for mechanical components of the truck in a large way, helping out with bill of materials. He's really been stepping up and into the role of production manager, figuring out, okay, how is the production plan going to look on this truck when it comes time to building it? What parts are we going to be using? How am I going to be sourcing those parts? Basically, and how do I put that into the bill of materials? If you want to kind of explain what you've been working on in the last couple months.
Yeah, so the last couple months we have been going through numerous vendors to go get some parts, like Ottoman's a good example. Reaching out to others for different type of key components that we need for the Class 8 and the pickup truck conversions. And then we've been structuring a build sheet to provide the customers. It includes part numbers for those parts. That way they can actually have that with them when they do in the event that they ever need to fix the vehicle, which another part of my job is to ensure that we get the best quality parts possible while keeping a reasonable budget.
I think we can probably share that if I go to the Google Sheets here. Just give me 1 second. So this was exactly kind of what we're looking at. This is Topsy, for example. These are basically parts where you can say who sourced it, what did it cost, what was the part number, and brings out all the information, where to find that. So this, for every part onto the truck, this is something that has to be shared.
Yeah.
It's something that has to go in because it goes into, we then take those parts and we run them into. Is this sharing here there, Ray?
Yes. Yeah. So that's the West Fraser one. So West Fraser is actually kind of cool because we got a couple of logo changes on that build sheet. So it makes it quite unique. We got the First Nations logo that we're putting on the truck in a couple locations.
Why don't I share that one? Let's see. Can you still see my screen?
Oh yeah, I can see everything.
The West Fraser truck?
I can't see that one yet. You got to change your presenting.
Oh, okay. Hold on.
Yeah, so there we have the West Fraser truck here. You can see right underneath the glass, we have the logo of the First Nations band that they're partnering with for this build. And it's also going to be on the back of the headache rack as well. Something that we're very cool to show off, that we respect the partnership that these guys are going into, and we want to flaunt their really cool logo around and show people that it's that, you know, that this is a partnership.
And that all has to go into the build. We have to take information on the detailed. We then place it into the build sheet with the parts list of all the parts. So Ray sources all the parts we need. It then goes on there what the rads are, and you'll start seeing things. This is a little bit more detailed on what the parts are, but then you start seeing like dual steer. Okay, that's the part number that we're using for that. Rear disc brakes, air chain. Okay, low air pressure. So we have to supply an entire build of materials for the parts on everything that has happened, who designs it, who's building it, who's responsible for it, what we're sourcing, where that part number comes from. So all of this is just an incredibly, incredibly large amount of work to basically, when you sit down with a customer, you have to determine what they want, tandem, tri-drive, battery, power consumption, then all the way down to what steering wheel do they want? What kind of speakers do they want? What do they need for their interior? Like, these are all options when it comes to building a custom truck.
Light styles, the turn indicators on the fenders, what style they want for that. I mean, it's an endless possibility of list here that we have to go through. And it takes a lot of work to source it out, and I'm happy to do it. And you know, we have so many components on these trucks, and we've been very lucky to have people like Matt Clauson, who we've been working with, to actually go through this line by line in about a 5-hour meeting on the build sheet to make sure that we covered every inch of that truck bumper to bumper.
Yep, I cannot express how much work this is to people that may be watching. When you have to source that many parts, and you think about every single part that is on a semi-truck, Ray, Matt, myself, a lot of the other guys have put in just a ton of work starting bumper to bumper, going through everything that looks at, going then through CMVSS requirements. What do the parts need to be? Are they DOT approved? What makes it? Placing that into the build sheet. Then sending those parts off to Daniel, Levi in the group to then put them into the 3D models to see fit, placement.
Any changes we need to make? That's another thing, is when we're doing trucks that require bodies, we might have to change up the fuel tank. And then that's a whole new rabbit hole that we have to go down as well.
Yeah.
Just one example.
I think that works great. Daniel, who was just on here previously, we showed his 3D models and showed everything, and then we can show how we can put the bodybuilder's chassis, the tank, or the snowplow, or whatever else they may need. We got to export their models, drop it onto our models, which will then have to facilitate go with Daniel going back to Ray or Matt and saying, hey, this fuel tank is going to cause a fitment issue. I need you to find a fuel tank that fits here, and then source those.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's been a big challenge, but we our fan base is a lot bigger than I think any of us anticipated. So when I reach out to some companies, the only reason why they even email us back and work with us is because they love what we're doing. Literally, I've gotten phone calls where the guy's like, hey, I see you're looking for this part. I wasn't going to answer before, but because I saw it was from Edison, I'm going to spend the time and work with you guys. So that's been a fantastic lesson there.
Yeah, it's cool to see the entire industry now pulling together.
Yeah. And then the last thing that I've been doing in the last 3 months is I've been talking with the installers, making phone calls, reaching out to them. I got to do a little update here before we go to China. I'm not really sure what I'm going to say. I'm working on my communication skills. That's been a fun challenge.
I guess that's just one of the parts when a bunch of mechanics and tradesmen get into these roles is that, yeah, we kind of are mechanics, truckers, and that trades guys. Like, I guess we're not salespeople necessarily, but look at they know what we're doing. They know what we're about, I guess.
Yeah.
But no, I got to say, Ray's been doing a great job so far. At least I haven't been hearing any complaints from the installers about keeping them in the loop. We'll let them know that, yeah, on Tuesday we're going off to China. Wednesday, we're going off to China. We're going to go see our suppliers from basically any of the parts we source. We do try and source as many domestic parts as we can. But when we do source from China, we're absolutely going over there to do a personal quality inspection.
Yeah, that's absolutely critical, because at the end of the day, I've sourced out on the mechanical side probably 95% of the parts. Eric sourced out a bunch of the stuff on the electrical side, and if anything fails, it's my ass on the line. So I take that very seriously, and I don't want to have. I'm not interested in selling parts. I'm interested in just building trucks. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I've been to Napa way too many times to know how that goes, or large go. Yeah. Maybe edit that joke out.
Oh no, we got some cool updates with Napa.
Yeah, I know. Just trashing the Napa guy there, being like, "Yeah, you walked up to the counter, sir. I need some window wipers. Is it for a 4-wheel drive or a 2-wheel drive?" Yeah, I should probably exclude that.
I mean, that's fair, but no, it's kind of cool. One of the things we're going to be doing is like the old Pacific. You'll get the entire book. Companies don't provide that anymore, like Pacific did back in the 1970s, where the build material had exactly what part they put in, the part number for every single component on that truck. It was basically like, here's the master parts list for your mechanic to have. And that parts list I can still get from Pacific for 1971. Geez, what is that? 60 years later, 50 years later, we still have that parts list for those Pacifics. Those was what we'll be providing to the customer. That is what Ray has been working on, so that when the customer buys it, he can see every single part, the part number, and where we sourced it from.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm looking forward to doing that. When Chase showed me the Pacific documentation that they gave us, I mean, they even had a photo of the truck being delivered to the customer. I mean, how can you not want to replicate that type of detail and passion in what we're doing? I mean, that is just mind-blowing.
Yeah.
It's something that we are definitely striving to replicate, because I think it's just such a unique feature for a manufacturer to do.
Yeah, I'm going to share my screen and show you exactly, people, what I'm looking at here. Back when we bought the Pacific, Hey Chase, please find attached the original line tickets for your Pacific P9. Serial number this. Also, this is an old, this is the photo of your truck back in the day. Larry, Pacific Truck Manufacturing. And then in here is the original build of material of all the parts, right down to wheel studs, cap nuts, everything that goes into this truck.
Yeah. How can we not follow in that, Sue? That is so cool.
They have not built a truck in over 30 years. They still provided pictures of our truck back in the day when it was brand new and the original build tickets and the original build of materials. That is what we are achieving, and that is the job I gave Ray of making sure he does.
Yeah, it's been quite a big monumental task, and I'm looking forward to handing over the first binder to our first customer there, and they're going, this is every part. This is the hosing we use. This is the bolts we use. Everything, all the way down. It's going to be a thick binder. I mean, it's a lot of information to go through.
Well, you've been doing one hell of a job, Ray. Keep it up.
Thanks.
All right, so I'm here with Levi Loewen, who's one of our mechanical engineering guys, and he's been doing some absolutely incredible work when it comes to chassis, frame rails, cross members, and cab structure. We've been making just tons of progress with that. I'm going to let him go through what he's been working on.
Yeah. So I guess I've been working for Edison since mid-December. Been doing lots and lots of design, chiefly on SolidWorks. I work remotely from Quebec, actually. I'm from Merritt. So I was hoping to contribute to local companies. So I'll show you guys share my screen and show you the model I've been working on in SolidWorks.
Awesome. Okay, so we've got our frame rails here with the 1/2-inch frame rails and cross members.
Yeah, so a lot of work has been put into designing the chassis. I tested the stress, the deformation on the chassis in different situations, different thicknesses for the cross members, different thicknesses for the rails.
To be clear, this is something that our customers need to have when they're putting in equipment that is going to be attached to the truck, simulating their use case. We need to prove that our truck and our chassis can survive the elements.
Yeah, exactly. So with the software, we can see all where the weak points of the chassis are, which is usually just above each cross member, where the cross members tend to bend inward with the load. We've also done some twisting to see what's going to happen when the chassis goes over bumps. And we can see all the resulting stress. So this is with the trunnion, the twist. The most important value that I was able to calculate is called the safety factor, and it kind of shows what's the probability of breaking. So this is kind of the twist put to the maximum that the chassis can hold, not what it's actually going to happen to it. So we can see that with our trunnion cross members that we've designed, a lot of the stress accumulates right in the center region, and there's very little in the chassis.
Yeah, you can see a little bit right above the thing, but that's not it. That's not very much. Are you able to show us the difference between the 3/8 frame rail to the 1/2-inch frame rail?
I sure can.
Okay, this is a 3/8 now? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that's significantly more green on the top.
Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, this is a 3/8 frame rail with the lift axle down. Much greener. Blue is good. Green's not as good. So we've got the safety factor, which is kind of the most important calculation, and we can see the safety factor is quite a bit higher than before. There's lots of stress, and this is where permanent bending will start to happen, and the frame rail will start to bend inwards.
Yeah, you can see that there's a little bit of yellow red around the lift axle point.
Yeah, exactly. So let's just pure load it on the chassis. Here I can show the twist.
And yeah, now can you show us twisting? The difference between twisting on 3/8 versus 1/2-inch?
So this is twisting of the chassis. So this is kind of put to the maximum twist. I'll show the safety factor. So this is with a 5-piece. This is a the half-inch rails with a 5-piece cross member. And you can see these cross members are quite light. They're much more skinny. They're but they absorb less of the stress. The rails are much more green, which means that there's a whole lot more stress going into them. And the different weak points are right in the weld point here for each of the cross members.
That makes sense. That's where I know my cross members, and every logging truck I've ever had is always blowing out right there.
Exactly. Here, I'll show you this. Do I have the?
Yeah, we're able to see the half-inch on the trunnion, because this is 3/8 with the.
This is half-inch.
That is half-inch. Okay.
Yeah, I'll show the C, and then I'll go to the final for the trunnion. So this is the same twist, the same situation as we just saw, but with a different cross member. So this is with the C cross member under the same load. So you see these cross members, it's a bit different style, but all the stress is accumulating on these in the joints here where it connects with the frame rails, and it's almost certainly going to break, even under the same loads as the others. And because these cross members are so much weaker, much more stress goes into the frame rails, which will twist more and last not nearly as long. So this is our custom design for the cross members, which is much thicker and beefier than the other two that we just saw.
It's like what the old Pacifics and Hayes used to run.
Yeah. So these are two C cross. Well, I guess we've even improved it since I did this. But this was 2 C cross members with nice big C brackets on each end. And all this is the same load as the others. All the stress is accumulating in the cross member right in the middle. And there's almost none in the frame rails, except for a bit at the front.
Wow, it's quite a huge difference in the frame rail.
Yeah, huge difference. So if anything is going to break, it'll be the cross members, and they're boltable, so they can be easily replaced. But we're going to build these as strong as possible, so you don't even need to do that.
Awesome. Wow, great work on that design. And we able to see the difference on the twisting between the half-inch to the 3/8 frame rail? Yeah, so that was fun.
Yeah, so here we've got this is 3/8 thick rails under the same load with no lift axle. So the lift axle's up. And so this gives us way more stress in the frame rails. So there's no twisting here. This is just pure vertical load. It's supported in the back with the suspension and in the front with the steering. And there's huge accumulations of stress right around here on the top of the rails. It's almost certain that there would be bending every time this rail was loaded. Every time the truck was filled up, it would start to bend more and more and accumulate. Over time, there'd be a noticeable deflection.
You'd start getting cracks coming from that.
Yeah. Exactly. This is kind of the pivot point for the structure, and it'll start cracking. It'll weaken over time for sure.
And yeah, with the half-inch, we didn't have any of that.
No. So we'll go back to the half-inch. So this is the same situation, significantly less.
You can visually see the difference in stresses between half and 3/8. Yeah.
There's a bit of stress on the bolts, but
it's kind of, this is one of those really cool things in my mind, because as loggers, you always said, like, yeah, them old trucks, them old Pacifics, my old Kenworth from 1969 was a better built truck. Like, the frame rail isn't blowing out. It's a single half-inch frame rail, and it survived since the 1960s, where it also has this style of more of a trunnion style of cross member versus those C-channel or the 5-piece ones that always blow out. I've never have problems with this style. So it's kind of cool to see this, I guess, what do you call it? A bunch of loggers giving their opinions actually backed up with the engineering here.
Exactly. It's exactly what we've got here. Yeah, like we're building trucks that'll last generations, hopefully.
Awesome. Do you want to show us the work you've done with maybe the cab or some other stuff?
Sure. All right. Let's bring this up.
done some great work when it comes to cab layout, placement of things. Like it's advanced a lot from our old cardboard catted the way Topsy was.
All right, so here we've got the point where I spent the most amount of my time, and that is building the 3D model on SolidWorks for the truck. So we've essentially ironed out the vast majority of the major design decisions, the overall feel, the overall structure of the truck. And so we got a truck. It's still missing some of the decals, the details, some of the lights. I've been focusing chiefly on the structure, the sheet metal of the truck, so that we can plan out the manufacturing when time comes around for that.
Yeah, the hood and fenders have not been worked on as a high priority on this one yet, but it's been mainly placement. If we start looking at things like suspension and how that interrelates, the fuel tanks, the batteries, how the batteries are attaching, and then to be able to send it off to Keaton for cable management. So you can see that things are a lot more high detail on things like the batteries. And
yeah, exactly. So I spent lots of time recently planning out, or beginning to plan out, the steering system. We got models for our suspension. We got models for our e-axles. I can show the cab, what the current plan is. Oh, I saw the window in the back. I haven't changed that. So here's a more close up on our cab. Daniel's got some better renderings of what this will look like. But this is, in terms of the SolidWorks model, this is what we've got. We're getting ready to run this.
Yeah, this is mainly for planning out cable management, exhaust routing, where we're going to be routing everything. The fine details Daniel's been working on.
Yeah.
I'm also pretty sure the cabinets will be shrinking about another 20 centimeters or so.
Exactly. That was the most recent reading that I need to do on this model.
Yeah, it'll be about half that actual distance in there. So people watching, don't worry about that. That is being adjusted, but
yeah, we're working to make it smaller. Yeah. So right now, yeah, we've got 3 nice cabinets in the back. There's still a window in this model, but that's to be removed when I have time.
Yeah, no, awesome work. Do you have the models, or is that Daniel that has the exhaust routing and cab mounts? And
that'd be Daniel. I haven't updated that on this model yet.
I know you've been pretty well working on the frame rail here. So we've been making huge improvement on frame rails, lift axles. We've been communicating a lot with the bodybuilders who has to drop on the external chassis onto it. So they need to know where their equipment, their rigging is going to go on to. So that's what Levi has been working here. That's one of the advantages working with us, is that we can work directly with the bodybuilder on placement.
Yeah, exactly. And this is our most recent improvement on the trunnion design. We've decided to go more with an I-beam instead of 2 Cs to prevent rust. And we're ready to start manufacturing and ordering this part to be manufactured. Is there anything else on the SolidWorks model, or you want to move to fluid mechanics?
I think we can move to fluid mechanics. This is kind of cool. I wasn't expecting this, to say the least.
Yeah, so this is something I was able to accomplish just in the last 2 days even. It took a lot of time to figure out how to do it, as I'm still learning myself how to do these sorts of things. But to start simulations of aerodynamics on our truck to see how the different things impact the overall fuel efficiency or energy efficiency of the truck. A couple of different questions we've been discussing of the angle of the roof, the angle of the hood, to see how those improve.
Yeah, I don't think fuel mileage matters or aerodynamic matters that much for a logging truck, but why not improve it a little bit if you can?
Exactly.
You can see that there's a lot of things right behind the cab, but the cab's going to have, the body is going to have gravel truck, cement mixer, snow plow, log and headache rack, log rigging. So we're not going to worry too much about that. But overall, the airflow coming by is actually really good. It kind of splits more than you would figure it would.
It does, yeah. With the front, it's just kind of like a wall that the air goes underneath, and then it flows nicely into the truck. There's some kind of accumulates later on the axle, but can't really do anything about that. The rest goes nicely over the top. It's pretty good. Like, it's not as good as a race car and all, but it's still a logging truck. So
no, great work. it's nice to be able to play around with the changes and see how those changes do affect the aerodynamics a bit.
Yeah, I can show you what a truck with like a load on the back, what it looks like.
Yeah.
So this is our same truck with a loaded, fully loaded back. Actually, I'll hide this. So this is moving at 100 kilometers an hour. And this is what the airflow does. So even this, the front of the truck looks virtually the same, still splits top and bottom, goes around. And when it hits the load, it mostly just flops right over. We still get the turbulent flow behind the truck as if it was behind the cab. There's not much of a reduction having this load or not. There's a bit of a gap between the two units that
you're not
a little bit of air gets stuck.
Which is kind of cool though, if the stacks actually do deflect some wind off the side. Are kind of useful actually.
Yeah, exactly. They kind of assist the airflow around the rigging of the truck.
I mean, there's nothing we can do about the body of the truck. That's going to be the same no matter what you do. But overall, the aerodynamics are much better than. Did we compare it to some other trucks?
I haven't been successful in doing that yet. I haven't been able to import Daniel's model in a way that SolidWorks can recognize to do this sort of analysis. However, just this afternoon, just like an hour ago, I ran a bunch of results. I'll share them with you. I sent them in the group chat. I guess it's probably not necessarily for the show, but since I've got you, the angle on the hood and the cab don't matter, virtually not at all.
Really?
So here's the situation. So I ran a bunch of angles. So this is the hood angle up to 15 degrees and the roof angle, and everything is like plus or minus 2% improvement, even with a 15-degree hood angle. All of it, like the drag is from behind the truck. It doesn't really matter much in the front. Like it improves it like 2%.
It's that drag behind, eh?
Yeah. That's why the semi trucks have got those big panels behind them that open up. Those are like they kind of make an envelope of the truck, like a teardrop shape, and that reduces all the drag. But we don't really have that option.
Oh, awesome work on this. It's kind of cool to see. Like, so yeah, we are doing these kind of assessments. We're looking at frame rail strength, attaching those parts. So like as Levi's been attaching those parts that you see, Levi's been attaching those parts you see in the 3D models. Then put the lift axle on, the suspension on, move them around, change out the cross members, actually see how it twists, how it deforms, while working on the body design, see if that affects the wind resistance a little bit. Like it at least doesn't affect it much, but at least it's something we looked into.
Exactly. Like we're evaluating all options to improve our truck as best we can, yet to maintain the high standard of production.
Yeah, and then mainly working with the other guys, Keaton, Daniel, how they're running their cables so that we don't have the mess of cables we had on Topsy. We're taking the lessons we learned from Topsy, integrating it, and then doing that stress analysis to make sure that it's safe for the road.
Exactly.
Oh, awesome work. Thanks for sharing with us.
Wow, but thanks for giving me the opportunity to showcase everything I've done. I think that's everything I've got to show. I can't think of anything else. I mean, it's pretty much the last 4 months of my life, basically.
I think people really need to understand how long it takes to put in all the models, make the changes, because basically, like, we can show the product where we're at now, but there's a lot going on to the design of those cross members, putting suspension in. Are we going with this company suspension, this suspension, what front suspension? How's that going to impact it? How's that going to react to the body? And then working with the electrical engineers where they need to put their inverters, power distribution units, all of that stuff that you see in the back wall behind Topsy has to go somewhere. How does that work? How does that affect? And if I make that change, how does it affect this? And how do we mount that to the frame rails? And with it's mounted to the frame rails with that weight, how does that weight there affect it? Where do we need to reinforce? So all of that months and months of engineering comes into that frame rail, which I think we're pretty well happy on, eh?
Yeah, I'm pretty much done with the frame rail, the cross members. My next project is to try and figure all the steering, the configuration, all the necessary components to ensure that that there's no problems. If you go over a bump, you're not going to wreck the steering or lose control instantly. There's lots of those fine details that were at the point of working out.
Awesome. Great work.
Cool.
Looking forward to the next update. All right, so I am here with Keaton, who is our electrical engineering guy that's been figuring out, actually we're working on a ton of things over the last year, but basically going through all of our electrical schematics, helping Eric out and working with Flow Hydraulic on the design, the power distribution unit, all the electrical parts, going over some of our failures, redesigning the truck to avoid those failures in the future, but he's going to share some of the stuff with you. And
yeah, so like Chase said, I'm kind of a man of many hats. Most specifically, what I've been working on lately is more documenting our design process and ensuring we have, going forward, a very comprehensive idea of what we did to create a product. That way, when things go wrong on that product, we can reference them and, you know, troubleshoot them and improve for later.
FMEAs, right?
Yeah, so that's the first stage in the design process. Basically, what an FMEA is when you're deciding design, any sort of product or feature, you take a look at what you want it to do, and you just really figure out what's going to break on it. You know, for example, even if something as simple as frame rails on our hydroduct, we need to figure out all the different failure modes for those guys so that we can document it and figure out the best ways to mitigate those problems.
Awesome. You want to share a little bit with us?
Yeah, sure. Should I just share my screen?
Yeah, might as well.
Yeah, so this is what an FMEA looks like. Pretty much, it's basically, it looks pretty intimidating, but it's basically a breakdown of the chain of failure. So basically, you start by a feature. So for this feature specifically, it's the chassis frame rails. And you define all the different functions that it can do. So the primary function of the chassis, let's say, is it provides the structure for the vehicle. After that, then you basically start listing out a bunch of different metrics, or not metrics, methods of how it could fail. For example, frame rail brakes. Obviously bad. And then you basically say all the different ways that could cause the vehicle to break. And then you say, for example, what are the effects of that?
How severe is it?
Yeah.
Cause of failure.
And then you basically, so you take the severity, you rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. Basically 1 being vehicles, it's a superficial break. So, you know, that's something like chip of paint, or, you know, maybe your automatic door, your window's not going down and whatnot. And then a 10 is basically the product or the vehicle completely inoperable, will never work again, or somebody's died.
Or yeah, major. Yeah. So this is one of those things where it's incredibly important to basically brainstorm everything that can go wrong, and then look at the design between yourself, Levi, Daniel, and say, how do we engineer this to avoid or mitigate these problems when they do happen? And it's when we have faults, we can go back, look at this, look at our mitigation strategies. How do we make it more robust in the future?
So the generator is, you know, it's really, in our truck, it's a 2-stage system. You have your classic diesel cat engine, which spins an electric generator to produce high voltage AC. Basically how that works, the faster that you spin that generator, the higher voltage you're going to get, and the more torque you're able to provide, the more current you can provide. So you basically have, it's really interesting because this is a perfect example of how there's electrical and mechanical failures that you have to deal with on a hybrid electric truck. So you have all your classic, you know, issues with your generators, such as fuel storage tanks, transfer pump failures, and fuel tank lines. But then you also have problems like, you know, in the permanent magnet motor on the generator. What happens if You have an imbalance in the stator windings. What happens if the rotor on that generator isn't lined up correctly and you get what's called air gap eccentricity? See, these are all things that we have to take account for, and it's a really good thought exercise, and it really shows that when you're working on these sorts of trucks, you can't just be an expert in electrical. You can't just be an electrical and mechanical. You have to know both sides, and that's why this is such an important, even just learning tool for the entire organization.
Yeah, and that's why having good mechanics, like we got Matt that can talk with the design team, Matt, Dan, able to talk with the design team, to implement what they learned in the field to what you can implement on the electric side and able to go into the design set.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah. So we're always, lots of learning happens at Edison from all sides. Even me coming in, I went to, electrical engineering school for 5 years. I know nothing about mechanics, but I've already learned pretty much more in the last 8 months than I did in my 23 years prior to that. So
it is. We got mechanics learning electrical engineering, electrical engineering learning mechanics.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, I think that's, that I think is something that's missing in the industry as well. There's not, that commonality of people working together to teach each other how to deal with new technology.
I would agree with that 100%. Do we want to show some of the other things you've been working on?
Yeah. So this is a really rudimentary power estimator that I developed based on, basically just simplifying the truck down to a free body point. So, taking all the traction forces, and instead of applying them on all the wheels, you center them at the center of gravity. And then there you can get a really rough estimate of how much power you're going to need to go in different speeds. And then here we can adjust it, things such as our equivalent frontal area, our air drag coefficient, and we can get a rough estimation of what our kilowatts are going to look like that we need to generate to travel at those speeds, what our current's going to look like. And then Eric has basically taken that and he's put that into a very wonderful fuel saving estimator that's really robust. One of the things that I'm working on behind the scenes is a more minute by minute breakdown of what the motors are actually going to be drawing.
Go back to that one. I'd love to explain a little bit of this.
Yeah.
For people seeing it. So this was done with real world numbers for a customer's haul out of Merritt, Princeton, that they're hauling on Old Highway 5A. Or no, 97? Which one's the Merritt Princeton Highway?
Oh, I have no idea.
That could be 5. I think it's 5, but someone could correct me in the comments, I'm sure. But basically, this is a truck running 2 shifts. So it's running full time, 2 drivers hauling basically chips and a lot of up and down. But what you see in here is that the fuel cost was about 600 liters per day. They were burning about 1,200 because diesel now in Canada is about $2 per liter. Now, afterwards, they found that their fuel reduction was around 433 liters a day. That's how much the generator needed to run. So we based what is the power requirements going to be? How long is that generator going to have to run for? And what their real world requirements are. So that 433 liters was $779 compared to the $1,200, which resulted in about $141,000 in fuel savings, which means that in 3 years, the truck has basically paid for itself in fuel savings alone. So this was just real important. We had to work with our customers, get the real world numbers. How much are they consuming in fuel? What is their fuel price? We had to plug that into the model. This is some of the other people have seen the videos with David from the University of Oregon. They worked with their features that map the terrain up and down. We're able to estimate a lot of that consumption based on terrain, based on what Keaton's done for his engineering, work together, put all of this into one center model, because when customers would sit down, they would want to know, am I actually going to save money with this thing? How much am I going to save? In this case, we were seeing about a 30% reduction in fuel, and it pays for the truck in about 3 years just in fuel savings. So really cool that we were able to take this to the customer.
Yeah, and it's going to be really interesting throughout the next year, as I develop in the background, we're going to be looking at more, down like into actual nitty gritty of the actual mechanics of the axles, of the power electronics, and we're developing models for that. So we'll be able to see really accurate estimations on what our current and energy draws are going to be looking like.
Awesome. Awesome. Is there a few more things you could share with us here? That one of the problems, Keaton works on a lot of all of the stuff that we have intellectual property on for wires. And eventually we're like, oh, we could show all these wiring diagrams. We're like, well, we should probably let the IP get sorted on that before we show it in the YouTube.
And another kind of problem with the work I do is that I do a lot of shopping. I do a lot of shopping. So, basically the design process is me and Eric will sit down and we'll look at a problem and we'll be like, okay,
we could probably end that.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so you guys do a lot of shopping together?
Yeah, there's lots of shopping. So me and Eric will sit down and we'll develop a problem, or we'll have a problem, and basically we'll design a block diagram with basically inputs and outputs of each stage in the problem that we need to solve. And then me and maybe a few other people, depending on who's available, will basically spend a couple days going through and basically shopping for products and reading a lot of data sheets. I think that's what people miss about engineering the most, is that when you're on a system design level, you read a lot of data sheets. It's a lot of research and comparing graphs. Even something that you think is as simple as a fuse, it's not. You got to compare that time to blow at different current levels. You're looking at temperature ratings. You're looking, even some of our devices, their current rating will drop by 1% per 100 meters of altitude gain. So there's a lot of factors, and even really simple, seemingly simple devices that you have to take into account.
Wow, that's a lot. I mean, also shows back of that Edison, that off-the-shelf parts, that sourcing available stuff instead of trying to design all of our own stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I do imagine. Keaton, I need you to design all the parts that are going.
Yeah, I'll just easily throw together a master's level course on myself. Eh?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Oh, awesome. Anything else? Than the FMEAs, we've done these wiring diagrams that we can't really show. We've done the parts that we can't show because we're waiting on that. There's a few things on IP that we need to get squared up. They'll have to be available at some point because eventually our customers and mechanics will need this, but it's this balancing act of showing everything versus, okay, we got to make sure that we don't get locked out of our own designs. Because the worst thing that could happen is you put all your designs out there online, somebody else steals it and then says, I'm going to patent it, now you can't build it, which happens in business, unfortunately.
Yeah, that does happen. I've seen it happen myself. So, oh, Chase, thanks for having me.
Yeah, hey, thanks for sharing what you've been working on for the electrical side. And
no worries. All right. Well,
awesome.
Ciao.
Hey guys, I'm here with Richard. You might have remembered him from a bunch of videos this summer while we were building Topsy. Richard has been kind enough to be helping out now with the Edison Go-Kart Challenge, with some of the paperwork that goes on behind the scenes. But why don't we start off with the Go-Kart Challenge? What's going on with that?
At this particular juncture, we're communicating with all the participants, and they are giving us their questions. And also, we're getting quite a few confirmations, although soft confirmations at this time. We're not going to get our firm confirmations, I think, until the deadline. A lot of the people who want to participate want to come in from all over. So they're trying to raise money and to provide accommodations for the students and to pay for transportation. Yeah, there's a lot of enthusiasm, and I'm really anticipating it's a lot of fun because there's so much energy associated with what they're doing and so much interest. So it's going to be great.
Oh, it's going to be good. We got the rodeo ground, so we got a good track. We'll put a nice hard base on it, but it's still sand, so it'll be a little softer. Richard's been looking after a lot of the safety things that I may be relatively more neglectful on when it comes to go-karting.
Well, your plate's full. That's why we delegate Mr. Barber.
Yes, I'm learning to delegate more and more because I'm getting overwhelmed. Richard's also been helping me out with the mental health part of this so that I don't end up completely insane for the workload.
What little I can do, but yeah.
Oh, you showed up today with a little bottle of bourbon and a nice charcuterie tray. And
Yeah, it's important that the team take care of each other. We're still a new company, and we have a lot of challenges being a new company, but I see good things ahead, and I see things becoming more predictable, and that'll give us a chance to really rush towards those goals that we have, our long-term goals.
yeah, no,
Not the least of which is building trucks and Terrace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Richard, I would say, is very important for keeping us together as a team, keeping us from not mentally collapsing under the incredible workload, and just checking in on everybody, see how they're doing, talking over, showing up like you do with a little bottle of bourbon or a bullshit session when people are getting stressed out, organizing high school things. It's just, it goes a lot to what looking after that mental health of people can actually go a long way. Really, really thankful for that.
Please don't tell the general public I'm liquoring up the CEO.
No, it helps. They know this company was founded. We have been very transparent that this company was founded by drinking beer and bullshitting about good ideas.
Well, the liquor's getting better.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
I had those mojitos. Oh, mojitos are wicked good.
Yeah, I know, and they're way too easy to have.
Oh, way
over
too
and
deadly.
over.
Yeah, that was a problem this summer. No, it's going good. I'm really excited for the high school challenge. Great to see us all progressing as a team, coming together. Like, just really want to thank Richard for stepping up for all that.
It's my pleasure. I believe in what this company's doing, and I think it's important for young people to realize that there are pathways in the future that are going to be positive and are going to help us mitigate the challenges of our future. And I'm looking forward to being part of that and being helpful, and rather than be the old white guy that was part of the problem, I'm going to be part of the solution.
I like that, and it's he's keeping us in line too. He makes sure that, hey, this was the vision of Edison Motors when we started, to build a good truck, an actual practical electric truck, lack of planned obsolescence, right to repair. These were the goals we set out as a company, and he's making sure that we stay in line with those goals.
Yeah, we can't lose track of why we started, because the fundamental canon of this company is sound and is worthy of being brought into the future. And so many people will benefit from this product, I think. If for no other reason, it'll inspire other people who are just getting into the workforce to start thinking big and thinking local. This has all happened here and will continue to grow here as long as that remains possible. And there's a lot of effort and thought that goes into trying to keep it here and viable in BC and in Canada. We need to grow our country's industrial base, our manufacturing base, so we're not it's not as dependent on other countries for our technological needs. We have the minds here. We have fresh ideas here, and they really should be exploited, leveraged, and brought to light.
Absolutely.
It's doing it.
We're doing it. Awesome.
How does one close one of these things out?
I don't know. I just hit the end record button like this. All right. I'm here with Theron now. You guys probably all know Theron. He's the one responsible for making all the YouTubes and the things you're watching right now. He will be the guy editing this video that we are currently making.
That's right. And so I guess my introduction, I'm Theron, and I do that stuff. I do a bunch of things at Edison. Actually, I'm an executive and a director of the company. So not only am I making the videos, but I'm like in all the board meetings. We have executive votes on company direction, decisions in the company. And I go on all the meetings. I go on all the fun stuff, on all the trips I got to go along. I got to document everything for you. And and try and share as much as the process as I can.
I mean, what other company can you meet with where the director of the company and key decision makers are also making the YouTubes to share what's going on with the company?
When I started here, it was it's grown quite a bit since, but it was really just a few of us, and there's a lot of positions and roles and things that have to happen in the company. And like Chase and I, we're truck drivers. Eric went to school for like accounting, and he has some background in the trucking, but we had to take on roles that weren't, I guess, trained, or we weren't very skilled at. So we've kind of been growing as a team. And when something comes up, like Chase can't do everything. So like, here's a thing that has to happen, like for merch, even merch is an example. So not only do I do that, but I do like the merch ordering. And then I was running the merch store, and we've recently brought my wife on. So she does the shipping and she helps there. But just as there's holes that come up with tasks that need to be done, we'd fill them. So you end up wearing a lot of hats at the company. And
you've got quite a few hats. It's been one of those really cool roles, is that Theron came on. He was a truck driver, and he basically said, hey, we love what you're doing. I want to help you guys out. What do you need? And I'm like, well, I don't have time to make all the videos, but I'm sure we could document this well. And Theron said, I'll learn how to do YouTube. And then
and I was driving truck full time at it. So I used to just come out on the weekend on my day off, and I do that. And then I try and rush the videos out like during the week. After, like, driving truck in British Columbia, you're doing 16-hour days. So after my day, I'd go home and I'd try and get a video out. And you could tell I didn't know what I was doing, and it was rushed. So it's kind of nice that I came on full time now, so I can do a little bit more schooling on how to make videos, and I can have a little more time in it. You might have, if you followed the YouTube for a while, you can see the quality is slowly getting a little bit better, but I'm not trained or anything. So
I mean, you pretty well took it on the role of training yourself, but this has been one of those cool things where it's exciting to be in a startup, because we're like, well, we got to document everything. We started bringing Theron along to everything, and we realized that, holy shit, this guy knows his stuff when it comes to business. He's got a good sense of common sense. We should probably just make him a director in the company. He's so involved, and because he's been on so many meetings, he knows what's going on. And like, now Theron can handle meetings on his own. So why don't you give us some updates on the business side of things and the YouTube merch? So you kind of handle business relations, merch, media, social media. What's going on that side over the last 3-4 months?
Okay, we'll just start off, I guess, with social media. So I'll just look at the screen here. We got a few videos going on. Chase and Edison has kind of got maybe thrown into politics a little bit lately, or forced to go that direction. So we've had some cool meetings. Like, we met with Sonia of the Green Party. We've met with John Rustad of the Conservatives. We are very bipartisan following, which is great. And so we got a couple videos that we're working on there. To get into the little bit more political side, we're going down to Victoria here on the weekend, and DeBoss Garage is joining us on the weekend, I guess Monday. And we're going to go meet with the Legislative Assembly again in the Parliament building, which is pretty cool. And we hope to be getting a bill put forward to possibly get some incentives for retrofit kits. So it's showing, like, not only are we building kits, but you have to kind of play the political angle too. And we can work with our friends in politics and hopefully get incentives, so when we sell the truck, it'll be cheaper for you guys. So that's an exciting thing there. So what else we got here? We have
I guess that is a weird thing to be like, hey, you're a truck driver, you want to do social media? Also, I need you to help me write government legislation now.
Yeah, it's a wild ride. I'm working on the video of, we went out and got Topsy driving again. Flowdraulic flew in, and we got the BMS replaced, and we drove the truck around, did some testing, found out we need more improvement in areas, which is all part of blew the truck up again, which is all part of prototyping, which leads us into the next thing is, on Tuesday, we're flying to China. And we're going to go and get more of those parts, and we're going to go visit our distributors, and we're going to go have business meetings and try and get all our things improved, our systems improved, and have a personal relationship with the people who we're doing business with. And so
super important. And literally could not have a part broke. We're literally flying over to China, grabbing the new parts, putting them in our carry-on, and flying back to the truck.
Yeah. What else do we got here? BMS hydraulic. I don't know. We have. I don't think I'm allowed to talk about some of the stuff that we got going on.
There is some things that we've had mentioned that have intellectual property behind them that we can't talk about because we're still in the process of applying. Keaton's interview was 90%. Oh no, we can't show that. You're gonna have some editing to do on Keaton's interview for sure.
Yeah.
Load something up, I'd be like, oh no, I don't think we've actually applied for the IP on this. Hold on, I can't show that. Poor Keaton.
So that's kind of the YouTube stuff. Exciting. We're meeting with the boss. Garage is coming with us to China, and so I get to work with editor Aaron. They're a guy that does their YouTube, and I hope to gain skills from him because he's just so much better than I am. I really look up to him as a mentor. So I hope to get some lessons while we're gone, and to view Rich and Aaron's systems and how they work together and how they create their YouTubes and to see their processes. So I hope to learn from them there, which is exciting for me. It'll be hopefully a big learning experience on the YouTube side and the video production side, as well as the business and our parts distributor side. So that's cool. Edit that part out there. And so the merch is getting caught up. Chase and I have been going to a lot of events, kind of. He gets brought down to talk. And we went to a BC Truckers Association thing last week, which was very, we realized we should go to more of them.
Yep.
And
I could absolutely say that truckers need to be more involved with the trucking associations because what they're saying behind everybody, like without truckers in the room, is shocking.
Yeah.
So and lobbying for the rights of the truckers.
Chase needs to be present at those meetings because it was all like business owners or like administrative type staff. And it wasn't like we were the only truckers there. And so they're talking about things like speed limiters and just regulations that are to come. And if you're not there to voice an opinion, you are missing an opportunity to directly mold or affect future regulations. And some of it, the stuff that was voiced was, in my opinion, a little bit scary of the potential direction of the trucking industry. And so we need to go do that more. But while we were there and where we were everywhere, Chase is asked for business cards. And we don't have business cards. So this week we got cool business cards ordered. We designed business cards, we got them ordered. So not only are we doing YouTube, but now we're working on with sourcing things like that. So we'll have some cool business cards offered so Chase can give them out when he's at events. And yeah, what else is there? I don't know. Whoa. Sorry,
what?
my wife walked by naked.
Oh. Jesus, Theron.
So then while we're in trying to look at our axles and things like that and visiting and doing product testing, making sure everything's up to par before we put in large orders, we're going to go and visit some suppliers for our merchandise because we've struggled with merchandise. And you can't beat over there, but sometimes the sizing is wrong. So we're going to go, Chase and I are going to take a day trip over to a factory who we've been somewhat working with, who we've seen the quality, but we need to assess the sizes. And we're trying to get a really high quality workwear line so we can bring in like Edison coveralls and things like that. And,
yeah, that's going to be exciting because we basically found out that either India, Bangladesh, China makes most of all of the workwear or the gear. And I don't like paying extra margins. So I hate bringing in and buying stuff. Like if it's made here, great. But it's not made here. The shirts are not made in North America. They're made over in China or India. So why am I paying a middleman? Because that just cuts into Edison Motors thing. So we can find where the actual clothing supplier is from. We'll go directly to the manufacturer, and that's going to be part of this trip in China to, hey, make sure the quality is there, make sure we're getting the right stuff, and not have a markup. We can then therefore charge a little bit lower of a price to our customers, and we can put a little bit more money in our side without a middleman taking the credit.
That's right. So we're learning all that part of the business too. Not only are we building trucks, but there's a segment of the company that does the merchandise ordering and things. And we've never done this either. So I have been in charge of like the last t-shirts I ordered. The sizing was all messed up. I asked for North American sizing and they gave me everything like fits 2 sizes too small, which that's super embarrassing and not very good quality. So we have to make sure that doesn't happen again, but it's all just a learning curve. Like I was a truck driver. I wasn't into retail. So I'm doing that too now.
Yeah, just managing international retail business on the side while making
Right.
YouTubes.
And people say, like we get in the comments, because that's another thing I do. I answer the emails, and I answer comments online, and I screen emails. And if something looks really important that needs like Chase's attention, I'll forward it to him so he doesn't miss it. But he gets too much messages and emails to go through daily. And but in the comments, people are like, they kind of give us crap for selling clothes. They're like, shouldn't you be building a truck, Chase, and not selling t-shirts? But that's the thing about the company, is there's many people that work here. Like my wife works here and that's her job. So Chase doesn't deal with that. Chase can build trucks too, while Alishka packages t-shirts to sell them.
I've always wondered that. They're like, why are you selling t-shirts and not pulling wrenches? Like, do you think I can do this all on my own? Like, this is just like, this video here has just been a small group of the people that work at Edison Motors. Like, not everybody even that works here is on this video because they don't want to be on camera. I've made some of them, but this is a small group of the guys that work here. Like, it's more than just me. But guys,
and that funding makes it so that we can make videos and we can pay for me to go on a trip with the guys to bring you content, and it's subsidized by the sales of the hats and shirts and things like that. So by us selling that, you're getting more content. We get to share the journey with you. The YouTube revenue doesn't always cover all that. And it also creates job positions where Alishka might be selling shirts now, but later she could be doing secretarial work or receptionist work and things like that. So it helps fund people's wages. It's not a waste of time. It's not taken away from Chase's, I don't know, whatever Chase can do in a day. It's a separate entity.
I mean, it brings in revenue for the company. That little bit of company revenue goes a long way, because we've sold some trucks, but that money is going to build the trucks. The merch and the little bit of money we make off of the YouTube views, which actually does help a bit, goes to covering like a third of the operational cost of Edison Motors from that day to day. So it definitely lowers our monthly burn rate, makes us more sustainable.
It's money that would not coming out of the money that people invested in the company. The people that people invest in the company is going towards the truck. It would be unfortunate for the money that should be going towards the truck, going towards things like that.
It goes to the YouTube and it makes the content, which then helps us. So the YouTube and the merch self-supports itself, so that we keep the YouTube and the merch, and we get maybe a little bit left over at the end of the month, maybe a little bit less. Sometimes you make a little more, sometimes you make a little less, but it's helping get what we're doing out there. It's showing that how we're building these trucks, how we're doing it, so that other people can learn, so other people can see, and it just gets the message out. It's incredibly important work.
Right. So that's what I'm doing. That's what I did. The YouTube stuff covered, the Victoria politics thing and the China ones are all the big main things on my plate right now. And yeah, I hope that helps inform you guys about just a little bit of my position here at Edison Motors. And then I'll wait for all the other interviews to come on, and maybe when I'm on the plane flying to China, I'll get this video together for all you guys to see.
We'll post it when we're in China.
That's right.
So
That's
yeah,
right.
I said we're in some of this video. I'm like, hey, next week we're heading out, but it might be this week. I might be in the air while this is.
That's right. It's my son's 7th birthday, and because I'm in China, I miss a weekend with him, so I will not see him for a month. So I have to pay attention. And he just came flying through the door. Say hi, Hunter.
Hey, Hunter. I
There you
better
go.
go. Happy birthday, bud.
Bad
Yeah.
boy.
Yeah, okay. That's good.
That's good. All right, guys. So that was a lot of the Edison Motors team. As you guys can see, I think we've been making some absolutely incredible process. I'm so proud of this team we put together. Proud of the work that everyone's doing between the Edison guys, our subcontractors in the background. It's just, we're really becoming a real company. It's getting the 3D stuff, the parts list, basically, with Topsy, we built the truck. Now we're building everything behind the truck. The fundamentals that make a great truck manufacturer is what we've been working on right now. We proved with Carl we could build an electric truck. We proved with Topsy we could build an electric truck that works. Right now, we're building a company that can last and become a real manufacturer. That's the next challenge, and I think we've got the team to do it. So thanks for watching this video. We're off to China now. Go see those part suppliers.